I swear, if the Guinness Book of World Records ever had a record for most Pinocchio references in a feature film, this film would have taken it in spades. Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Kim, and welcome to my review for Avengers Age of Ultron. This movie was directed by Joss Whedon, just like he did with 2012's Avengers, and it finds the Avengers reeling after the effects of Captain America the Winter Soldier. You know, they're basically a tool of the government. They're fighting off Hydra, rah, good guy stuff. But then, while on assignment, Tony Stark gets this dark vision of the Chitauri army coming back, but even stronger. You know, those fish creatures that were actually warships that came in the first movie? Imagine hundreds of them. It's like in the movie Alien, and then the sequel being Aliens. You know what one can do. Now let's see what more than one can do. And so, in Tony's twisted way of trying to create the greater good, he sets out to make a, quote, suit of armor around the planet, in the form of Ultron, eventually to be voiced by James Spader. And let's just say the two have a very different way of interpreting the phrase, peace in our time. Tony Stark's version of peace in our time is us throwing up the peace sign and singing John Lennon songs all the livelong day. However, Ultron's theory for peace in our time is literally taking a piece of the Earth and slamming it into the rest of Earth as hard as humanly possible. Needless to say, it's a very bad day for the Earth, and the Avengers must assemble once again to stop this from happening. I said in my review for The Avengers that The Avengers is one of my favorite comic book movies and one of my favorite movie theater going experiences that I've ever had. It was a movie that was 4 years in the making, and it paid off in all the right ways. So a sequel to one of the best comic book movies ever made already seems like it has a handicap because you can't recreate that magic. Unless you're The Empire Strikes Back or The Godfather Part 2. But with Joss Whedon returning to direct the sequel and Marvel Studios pumping out some really good comic book films in between Avengers and Avengers 2, everything was looking up. And was the movie good? Yes. Was it great? Not really, no. I didn't hate this movie, but in terms of what it should be and what it is, it should have been a lot better. I'll go straight into the flaws because the biggest positive that I have for this movie is the camaraderie between the Avengers and their fight against Ultron. The dichotomy between the heroes and the villains is really good, but you already know that. My biggest flaw for this movie is that it does feel like a bit of a retread. Basically, this movie feels like the same order you get at your favorite restaurant that you've gotten like 10 times, and you say, oh, I'd never get bored of this order, but then you order it again, and you taste it, and you're like, this is good, but I think I want to try something else now. And I feel like that's what Avengers Age of Ultron should have done. Something different. Now, I'm not saying that they should have done like an Infinity War and just, spoiler alert, kill off half the cast, but, you know, do something different. Don't just have another alien or robot release something from the air and try and slam it down to the earth. You know, try something new. But that's relatively it in terms of flaws. I really did appreciate the dichotomy between the heroes and the villain. Ultron was fantastic. He was funny, but he could also be incredibly menacing. I've read theories that Ultron is basically the mirror image of Tony Stark, and while I do see that, I believe that Tony Stark has more of a moral compass. It's a bit of a messed up moral compass, but hey, it's a moral compass nonetheless. While Ultron is just like, no, morality is for losers, I'm going to destroy everything. He's basically like Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty, except Rick is actually somewhat of a nice guy sometimes. And Ultron doesn't like Szechuan sauce. What I loved about the movie is what it did differently, and I feel like the biggest strength in terms of moments in the movie come from when the movie veers into the darker territory. Avengers Age of Ultron is a much darker film than The Avengers. In the scene where Tony Stark gets a dark vision, he gets basically brainwashed by Scarlet Witch and he sees pretty much all the Avengers dead. And then Steve Rogers just reaches up and grabs Tony's leg and he's like, "You could have saved us." It's much more darker than I just described it, so go check it out for yourself. But it's basically is the reason why Tony does the things that he does. He feels that he is doing the greater good. It doesn't matter who it affects. He believes that it's right, and in his mind, that's the only opinion that matters. And while Bruce Banner is over there like, "Tony, no, listen, we can't do this. We can't do this, man." And Tony's over there like, "What is the point of the Avengers? The Avengers is so that we could fight the battles that no one else could. So that we could fight, end the war to end all wars, and then go home. That was the point. This is not a whole big thing. This was never meant to last." Which leads directly into the cabin scene. Which, hey, by the way, everyone who made fun of Hawkeye, watch this movie. Hawkeye is a much better character than people make him out to be. Because the cabin scenes in this movie are great. We see the seeds planted for civil war in this movie. Some of the tense dialogue between Cap and Iron Man where they're trying to find out why they're doing this is really some of the best parts of the movie. Another big positive for me was the amount of humor. Now, I've said in the past that the humor in the MCU is really cool, but there are some moments that legitimately made me laugh out loud. Language. But in the end, guys, I'm going to give this movie a good rating. I would have given it a great, but the pacing in the movie was not exactly the best. It was much better in the original Avengers. And I feel like this movie does get a bit of a bad rap. I feel like when it does something different, it's really good, but it kind of steps out of but stays really, really, really close to the box. But guys, that's all for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and you also subscribe so that you never miss a new video. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, the links to all my social media will be in the description below. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.